Good morning. Okay, so this is episode 4, take 2 of the Towards Christ series. And the topic is, why is God invisible? The first obvious answer is, well, you were telling me just a few episodes ago that you're mostly interested in the symbolic order. So why are you even worried about whether God is real enough to have a presence? Or is this about some kind of psychological presence? Which I do think there's a psychological presence. But we're in... that's actually a good topic. But I wanted to address the theological question, if you will, of why God is invisible if he's real, even if it doesn't directly pertain to the Towards Christ project, because that is still a part of your symbolic order. If you do not have a reason for engaging in this document, the Bible, and in this practice of following Christ, through whatever means you find that seem to be helpful for following Christ, if you're going to be able to do that, you're probably going to eventually need a story as a part of that story that explains why he's invisible and does not answer every prayer and that kind of thing. So, although it's fraught with distractions, I'm going to go back to the Genesis story of the Garden of Eden to explain this. The Garden of Eden appears to me to be the story of an idyllic state. Now, I'm not discounting necessarily Jordan Peterson's ideas about what the story of the Garden of Eden are. In fact, I really like them. But I do not believe that there is any one singular way to interpret a Bible story or set of stories or set of interconnections within the Bible. I think these are relationships, and they are meant to be kind of like a crystal that you look through from many angles at many different topics and are able to get information out of. And so the information we're getting out of the Garden of Eden story, when you are looking for an answer to why God is distant, if you happen to be doing that, and I have, sorry, making fun of myself, is that what we see is this idyllic situation in which mankind was in a state of unconscious connectivity to God, and maybe that's a faculty, maybe that's an image, maybe a symbolic order. Probably it's an almost completely unconscious structure, and basically like the animals, right? Like children, like the animals, they have a parent, which is nature, and their unconscious capacity to interact with nature. And so they're naked, and they have they're innocent in their nakedness. They have no shame, that kind of thing. But there's one thing they can do to break that cycle, and I guess I am interweaving Jordan Peterson's model into my model here, and this is the first time I've done that. So, wow. So what would come next is that when they fell, why was it a command that they not fall? Well, it's not a command that they not fall because God could never will that how do I say this? I think it's something like God could not, as a symbol or as a being, could not but protect his creation, his self-aware creation, from losing their unconscious connection with him. Because once they start choosing to think for themselves about what is good and what is evil, instead of trusting this unconscious instinctual system, then they're not using that instinctual system anymore. They're using conscious thought, which is a slower but finer process, right? It's going to make more mistakes, but in the long run, over generation after generation after generation, it will produce a structure. It will produce conclusions which will allow humanity to more consciously connect with God. Whereas before, they were merely unconsciously connected with God. God, this is all pure speculation that is spouting from my mind on the go. So enjoy the speculation. Yeah, this is weaving 2 or 3 threads together that I didn't intend to weave together until this moment, but it's interesting, so I'll keep going. All right, so when you have that conscious structure, then you lose paradise, right? You can no longer see all of nature as good, but you start becoming dissatisfied with your lot in life, because you say, hey, look at this, look at that, those are bad things. I don't have an unconscious need to be thankful for them anymore, because I am now thinking consciously. I am naming things. Well, interestingly enough, the naming happened before that. I like that. Okay, so they were definitely conscious, because I think naming has to do with consciousness. Like, the more, once you have the capacity to name something, you create this conceptual substance through which the unconscious can resonate against and thus learn more. So it's like you learn a node in the network out in front of you. The unconscious sees the network, but it's harder for it to see the nodes. But then you name the node, and suddenly the unconscious can see that node once you've named it, once the conscious mind has named it, the naming mind has named it. But once they chose, the act of disobeying that law of do not eat the fruit was the act of deciding to choose to think for oneself about what is good and evil. And of course, I've heard lots of atheists completely misunderstand the story, which most people do. I probably do too. This is in no sense an absolute interpretation. This is just my best work, and I guess it was their best work given their situation. So I shouldn't be too frustrated at the atheists. It's just that they can be jerks about it. I'm trying not to be a jerk. I'm trying to be humble, and I would like to see other people be humble, because it maximizes our capacity to resonate with each other and connect with each other and cross our divides instead of ever dividing more like we're doing right now. Okay, so I wonder if the atheists realize how much they let that out of the bag, that divisiveness that we are seeing now. I'm not trying to lay that at the feet of the atheist. I'm saying that certainly there was a unity between Christianity and the academy at one point in time, but instead of negotiating for a common space, atheism pushed Christianity out by being uncivil and by being combative, which had the response of pulling Christianity into itself and into, crazy, weird stuff like young Earth creationism and stuff like that. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a speculative theory. I don't mean to trash atheists when I talk about it. I'm very frustrated where we are at this time, and I don't actually intend to point blame anywhere, but I do intend to analyze our situation and try to come up with solutions. Know why we're here, and then figure out how to get out. But anyway, that was not the topic. Do I have time to get this done? I barely have time to get this done. I'm not gonna delete this take like I did the first take, because this is a good take. So, no, I don't have time. Damn. Okay, I'll have to pick this up later, guys. But I'll definitely post this one, because there was some interesting thoughts in it. So, to summarize, I am attempting to answer the question of why Is God invisible? And I'm saying you have to answer that question even if it's symbolic order, because that has to be a part of your symbolic order to have an answer to that. And I'm beginning to answer that question with the story of Genesis and the fall, because I think the fall illustrates why there is a division between man and humanity, why there is distance between man and humanity, why he is now invisible. But there's more things I have to bring into the story. All right, thank you very much.